Hey friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping in today. I have another new layout to share for the Paige Evans design team. And this layout is going to feature one of her brand new cut files that is part of her 20 Days of Spring cut files. This is the fourth one that she has released. And it is a giant butterfly, and it is so pretty. I believe it's called Butterfly. And I just enlarged it to take up a big chunk of the paper here. And I cut it on paper number 13 from her new Wonders collection. And look at all these little bits and pieces that are inside the butterfly. Little tiny flowers, little tiny dots. So beautiful. And I think it looks gorgeous on this multicolored paper. And look at it on the cutting mat, all the little inside pieces. That's another job for another layout, but I haven't taken them off the mat yet because it looked so beautiful. I'm going to finish poking out all the little teeny tiny pieces that didn't come out on the mat. But I love all the colors in this paper, and yeah, I'm going to try to figure out how to arrange it on a background because I'm not sure. It's going to take up the majority of the layout, but I want to arrange it to where I have some room for some photos. So yeah, I'm going to use white textured cardstock for the background here because I want some of the texture from the cardstock to show through the mixed media that I'm going to add. So I'm going to go ahead and coat it the whole thing because I'm going to do a lot to this background, and the gesso is just going to prep the page and get it ready for inks and sprays. And I did trace the butterfly onto another sheet of white cardstock so I can back it because I want all the little cutouts to remain white. But since I'm going to add a lot of color to the background, I felt like the little inside shapes would get lost if I start adding a lot of color behind it. So I want those to stay white. And then I've got these two cute photos of me and my daughter, and I love that she is looking up toward the left. So I'm going to arrange the photos on the bottom right corner so it looks like she is looking up and above, kind of at the big butterfly. So I'm going to use some of my shimmers today, and I'm going to create just sort of a blue color wash to start. And I'm mixing three different colors here. I've got Seize the Day, Deep Blue Sea, and Ahoy Matey. And I'm just going to mix them all together, spritz it with water, and start to toss and turn the paper around. And you see that big streak that just went down the bottom there? Look at this. I can just get rid of it. And that's because I use the gesso. I say that a lot, but I like to repeat it because it's important. If you want to do this kind of technique where the color just sort of runs and blends and does its thing on top of the paper like this, gesso is the key. Because otherwise, if you go to spray stuff right onto just plain cardstock, it's going to just soak right through and you're not going to be able to get the same effect. So this is why I use gesso so much, because I love this technique. And I'm just trying to go from the top of the page to the bottom. You know, the butterfly is going to be right on top of it, so I want the blue kind of above it, below it, but not covering the entire background. But I love this technique because, you know, it just kind of does its own thing. You know, the liquid and the water and the turning of the paper, it just kind of naturally goes where it's gonna go. And I like to use a napkin. I like to use a brush to kind of help spread it around, and then I like to use a napkin to kind of dab up what I may not want there. And it's easy to dab things up because it hasn't soaked right through the paper yet, and so that's where the gesso comes in. I also use my fingers quite a lot because sometimes my fingers can do more things than the brush can do. It's just a different look. I don't know. I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty, so sometimes I'll just use my hand and yep, it's going to look messy regardless. And so, you know, that's the whole point of a messy mixed media background. It's going to look unique every time, and it's going to look messy and random, which I like. So I'm going to keep messing with this, keep dabbing some up, turning the paper this way and that, and kind of letting it go. But I'm already loving how this is looking. And I picked this color to start because it was a color in the butterfly, and I just love blue. I feel like blue is always my go-to color, no matter what shade it is, and I just like that as a starting point. So my next color is purple, and this is shimmers also called Princess, and I'm going to just kind of add it over to the right side a little bit. And it's okay if it blends in with the blue because it's just going to give me a third color here pretty much. And this is a color that's in the butterfly. And that's why I chose that pattern paper to make the butterfly, because I could use so many of those colors, and that would help me dictate what I added to the background and how much and where it's going to go, and all of that fun stuff. So this looks like a lot, and it is, but it's going to look different once the butterfly goes back on top of it and my photos. And so a lot of this is going to be behind the butterfly, so I'm trying to make sure that plenty of it is visible above and below and to the side of the butterfly. And I'm loving how this is looking so far. And the paper is going to warp a little bit. It's okay. You have to expect that when you do mixed media. And I know a lot of people leave me comments and they say, I like mixed media, but I can't stand warped paper. And I totally respect that. You know, I totally get that. I try to flatten mine out as much as possible once everything is dry. And a lot of people have told me that they run their paper through a laminator, and that helps to flatten it out. I have not tried that, because the last time I used my laminator, my paper got stuck and it got warped like an accordion, and I had to get a screwdriver and dismantle the entire thing. And I saved the paper, but I couldn't get it put back together 100%. So I have been afraid to try to use it. So to flatten my paper, I just lay it flat on my desk and then put a bunch of heavy paper pads on top of it overnight mostly, and let it flatten out. All right, so I got the blue, I got the purple, and I love how this is looking. It's pretty. I think it's reacting really well on this textured cardstock, and it's not warping too bad actually. And this layout on the end doesn't warp that bad, because the butterfly is so big, and once I glue it down, it kind of helps flatten the paper out just by gluing that down and it drying. So it worked out in the end. I'm going to add a little bit of pink, and I'm going to mix it with a little bit of yellow, because I'm trying to get an orangey color here, and I just wanted to do some mixing and matching. And so I'm mixing Shimmer's Cotton Candy with Shimmer's Mustard Seed, and then just using my brush to kind of blend those together. I have orange sprays, but these were just near me when I was making this layout, and so I thought, let's just blend them together. And then I'm going to bring in a gelato. I have an orange gelato that's going to match the orange in this butterfly, just to add a little bit. And now I'm getting to the point on the layout where I am doing intentional mixed media. When I first started with the blue, it was what I would call random, where I'm just going to let it kind of go where it's going to go. And then the purple was a little bit more intentional. And now this orange is very intentional, because I want this just kind of peeking out from underneath the upper right wing there. So I'm doing some pink and some orange together, because I want just hints of these colors there. So that's the fun thing about making a custom background like this, is you can do as much or as little as you want, and you can control it. You know, it's not always random. You can put mixed media wherever you want. You can make it look random, but it's very intentional. Like, you did that on purpose. You put it in that spot for a specific reason. And that's what I'm doing now. That's why I keep bringing the butterfly back, putting it right there, and then just kind of carefully working around it to have hints of pink and orange kind of peeking around there. And then when you take the butterfly off, it looks kind of weird. Actually, I kind of like it, but you know what I mean. It looks like all this blue and all this purple, and then just this little tiny bit of pink and orange. Well, it's there for a reason, and you know that in the end the butterfly is going to go. And I kept working, and I added some pink and orange down on the lower left, but I think this is so pretty. It looks like cotton candy to me. I love how it dried. I love how you can tell that it was water and then it kind of dried, and it looks kind of streaky and runny in a couple spots. I love that. So I'm going to come back in with the purple and some of the blues, and then add some splatters, because, you know, I love splatters. And I want to make sure that you can see these, that they're not hidden behind the butterfly. And I'm looking for the orange spray that I thought I couldn't find. Turns out it was right there the whole time. And that color is called, I think it's Caribbean Sunset. Let me check. Where did it go? It's gone missing again. My desk has way too much stuff on it. I think it's Caribbean Sunset. All right, so now I'm going to add some adhesive foam because I want to pop up the entire butterfly because it needs to be popped up. I felt like it's going to create a nice little shadow effect, make it just kind of jump off the page a little bit more. And yeah, I love how this background turned out. I feel like it enhances the photos, it enhances the butterfly, but still everything kind of works together and makes everything stand out on its own without overshadowing the next piece, if that makes sense. I never want the background to overshadow the photos, and I never want the photos to be kind of lost in the layout, if that makes sense. All right, I'm going to add some little butterflies here. These are 2 sheets that I took out of the 6x8 paper pad. You can see that one of them has metallic gold foiling on it, and this one here does not. But the butterflies are different sizes, so I'm just going to start fussy cutting because I want this big butterfly to be the main one, obviously, and then I want to kind of add its little friends and its little babies kind of flying all around it. And then you did see me add some tissue paper and some adhesive foam behind the photos because they're going to kind of overlap the butterfly on the edge there, and I want them to be the same level. And then I'm going to start to glue down some of these butterflies. I got some different sizes, some different colors. Some of them have foiling, some of them don't. But I'm just gluing down the middle, the little bodies, so I can bend the wings up, because you got to bend the wings up when you have butterflies. I mean, it's just, they got to look like they're flying. That's my favorite thing. Now, the big one is going to be glued down because obviously he's too big. He's got foam underneath him, so he's flat, but he's still popped up off the page. And I adore this so far. I think it's really, really cute. I'm excited. I'm adding this little piece here that I took from one of the 2x2 paper pads. It says A Peaceful Perfect Day. I am going to wind up using it, but I put it on and take it off a few times. And it's got this really pretty rainbow border, and I'm going to use that also. 2 more papers from the 6x8 paper pad. I'm going to use these as layers. I wish I would have done this before I put the adhesive foam behind the photos, but oh well, it still works out in the end. This orange one has little gold metallic dots, and I'm going to layer that behind the top photo just to give it a little bit of color, a little bit of separation against the butterfly in the background. And then the bottom photo is going to have this pink pattern paper behind it. And the good thing, I know I say this a lot when I use a big cut file, but the good thing about, well, one of the good things about using a large cut file like this, or making it large, is it takes up so much of the background, or it takes up so much of the layout, that it kind of makes it easier for you to put everything else together. Like, there was just enough space for me to put my photos, and then I really don't have a lot of other room for a lot of other things except these little tiny butterflies. And it helps the layout, for me anyway, to come together quicker, because it limits the space you have left to work with, you know. And I feel like even though this big butterfly is taking up all the room, I still have plenty of open space to let your eye kind of rest and breathe, and the whole layout isn't overly busy. At least I don't feel like it is. I'm going to glue, no, I'm not gluing. I'm going to add some thread. Hello. That's a darker blue thread that I'm going to tuck in over here to the right of the photo. And then I have a couple other colors that I'm going to add and then change around. But I want to go ahead and get the photos glued down. And I love that it looks like she is looking at the butterflies. I tend to get a lot of selfies with my girls looking in opposite directions. They, you know, they get to giggling and they never want to look directly at the camera. And it works out for me sometimes, because when I make a layout like this, it's perfect, because in my mind, the people in the photos are awake and they're alive on the layout, and I want them looking at things. You know, they're going to be on this page forever, so they might as well have something fun to look at. Yes, I know that makes me sound crazy, but you know, as scrapbookers, we don't have typical thinking brains, right? No. So yeah, I want my photos to be looking at things. Yeah, I know, I'm crazy. I tucked the pink thread. I tucked it somewhere else, but then I moved it. So I've got some yellow kind of underneath the, right there where I put that little purple butterfly, and then pink and blue over by the photos. And then I did add a couple more butterflies. I'm going to layer 1 or 2 on top of the big butterfly, and then a couple kind of underneath to where they have like one wing, just to give a little bit of depth. And some of this obviously is going to be going off the page, so I'm going to wind up trimming that off later. There I am again with that little piece. I do wind up tucking it underneath the bottom right there, but I tried a couple times to remove it. I finally just say, nope, I'm not going to use it, and then in the end I do. This is going to be my title. If you look at the page, you know, where would I be able to put a big title? There's not really anywhere that would make sense. And I don't want to cover up a lot of that butterfly because it's beautiful. So I'm just going with this little banner sticker that says smiles all around. And I couldn't figure out where to put it at first. But I did stick it to some white cardstock so I could move it around because it's a sticker and I am definitely not ready to stick it. So played with that for a little bit. Wasn't sure where it was going to go. I finally decide kind of right there. I went through the sticker book, tried a couple things. Like I said, I'm looking for small things at this point because I don't want to overly clutter things up and make them more overwhelming, because there's a lot of things going on here. There's a lot of color, and at this point I'm looking for things that are more solid. I'm going to use the other part of that little 2x2 piece of that I keep trying to stick down at the bottom there. I'm going to use the part that oh, there's Paige. I don't know if you saw her head. The rainbow part, I'm going to stick it underneath that smiles piece and then add another little butterfly and look through the stickers some more. Oh, there's Paige's hand. She's checking out the page. She's actually wanting some Cheerios. So yeah, I had to take some breaks and feed that baby because she just could not get enough Cheerios. There it is again. We're going to use it. I think I put it and took it off like 4 times. It's going to stay. Stickers. To add a sticker or not to add a sticker? That is the question. This is the point of the layout where it's like, okay, I want to keep adding things, but I don't. I think it looks fine. And then my gold spray started to splatter out. I don't think I had closed it tight enough, so I wanted to make sure I didn't make a big old gold mess. But I did add some gold splatters because, oh, I just love adding gold. It's gorgeous and it's so pretty. And that is the Jen Hadfield gold glitter spray that I've had for quite a while. All right, almost done. This is what I've got so far. Like I said, I am going to trim off all the pieces that are hanging off the edge, but it's dimensional, but not too much. Last thing I'm going to do is add my journaling here with my gold pen. Well, I always draw lines first with pencil because I want to make sure it's straight. And then I'm going to use my metallic gold pen for my journaling. And that is it. Here comes the final layout photo. I love how this turned out. I really, really do. I was worried about this cut file getting hung up in my Cameo, but it cut it beautifully. And, you know, you could do a lot of different things. You could cut this smaller. I just wanted to cut it big. I just felt like using something big and bold. And I think this pattern paper was perfect for that. And I took a lot of close-ups here. Like I said, I'm going to link the website, not the website, the link. I'm going to link the link down below so you can get the 20 days of spring cut files, 20 different ones. It's $20 and you can get all of them. So keep a lookout on Paige's Happy Scrappy Place Facebook group each day for the first 20 days of May, and you're going to see a new cut file revealed that's going to be in the bundle each day. So if you want to get that, click down below. And yeah, I had a great time making this. I hope it inspires you in some way. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching and have a great week.